I call to order the Wednesday, February 26, 2025, public meeting of the Jenkintown Borough Council. At this time, if we could all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Particularly the flag of the United States of America, and its national hands, one nation,
Before I move on to the roll call, I just want to note that prior to this meeting, the council did hold an executive session to discuss matters of potential litigation. I would move on to the roll call. Councilor Khal.
Here.
Councilor McCarthy.
Here.
Councilor Bartlett. Here. Councilor Narva. She did ask to be excused. Councilor Ballard. Here. Councilor Connors. Here. Councilor Soltesiak.
Here.
Councilor Perico.
Here.
Councilor Lewis. Here. Councilor Spindler. Here. Councilor Bruno.
Here.
And Councilor Marlowe.
Here.
Manager, please record a quorum. I need a motion for approval of the minutes.
Let me, wait, get this.
Second. A motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Manager, please record a unanimous vote. Approval of payrolls, Councilman Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for approval of payroll in the amount of $206,280.85 and invoices totaling $269,090.19.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Manager, please record a unanimous vote. The community update on SPS Technologies fire incident. Chief Scott, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me all right?
He's at a conference.
Can you hear me all right?
As my colleague said, he's at a conference in Hershey, and he's done.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
If we don't hear you.
Oh, we can hear you on Facebook. You know, is the light on in the owl? If we just have to get you up on Zoom, we can hear you on Facebook.
Yeah, the light is on the side, is on, and back here. Just like anybody with down city. No.
It looks like they can hear me on Zoom. I don't know.
The volume is up on the computer. On the bottom right. Good.
Test that, Chief, please.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you.
We got it.
Okay. So just to get everybody up to date, there's been obviously several things that have gone on over the last almost 2 weeks now. First and foremost, I want to thank all of the restaurants that are in Jenkintown Borough and Abington Township that supported all the first responders during probably the first 48 and 56 hours, if you want to say, or 72 hours of the incident. It continued throughout. 114 hours of time of service of fire department activity at the scene and emergency management. That was consistent throughout from 9:35 on that Monday night all the way to Saturday afternoon when the fire was finally put out. Tremendous amount of resources used to deal with this incident. Currently, right now, we have had several teams going out throughout the borough to do cleanup, hired by SPS Technologies to take care of that. SPS has updated their web page, and they're going to continue to put new updates each day. SPSupdates.com is the central location for their updates. You will see on their update from today, they put on there the specific processes that occur at the plant and then the chemicals that were involved in the processing. It's not a specific identified as chemical list. It's listed as the processing. So if you look on that, you will see the list of chemicals that were involved on the campus and what is used during the processing plant. We are continuing to work with the DEP and the EPA regarding monitoring and making sure that SPS is held accountable with regards to continuous monitoring for the air, continuous monitoring for the water runoff. The good thing that SPS had already installed many, many years ago was that they have their own water treatment facility on the campus, so that any collection of water on the campus will be treated before it is discharged into the Tookaney Creek, and that will be, and they're working directly with the Philadelphia Water Department regarding that discharge. They've removed the majority or almost all of the chemicals that were in storage off of the property. They are continuing to work with us and communicate with us on a daily basis on what areas of the borough that they will be going out to. They specifically hit all the critical infrastructure more than once. And then they are obviously working with us, and we are giving them feedback about different things that we are hearing back from the residents and concerns. The main priority was the school district. We worked with Superintendent Jill Takis throughout the incident to make sure that the facility was safe before the kids were back on the facility. I believe that all of the things that we did to make sure that it was safe have been effective, and we are making sure that the kids are safe at the facility and any other facility within the borough. There's a lot of concern about soil testing. I know that the DEP is aware of the concerns. They are working on a plan along with SPS to see if soil testing is warranted. Based on the conversations that I've had with all of the representatives, the indicator for soil testing a lot of times has to do with the air monitoring. If there's any particulates that are in the air, that would then engage the further testing of soil. But they are not disputing or not disparate against that idea of possibly doing soil tests just to make sure. The issue is people want soil testing. Well, they're going to want it on each of their facilities. Well, that's not going to be a possibility. They would do it in specific certain areas wherever the air monitoring would trigger that effect. And I think Pennoni and Khal Hassan will kind of will back that up. And I believe that he's going to present some information tonight to Borough Council. The authority having jurisdiction over compliance is the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. It is not Jenkintown Borough. The second person that would have authority jurisdiction would be Abington Township, since the facility facility is in Abington Township. We do have concerns, and we are obviously going to bring those to Abington and also to the DEP and the EPA to make sure that they hold SPS accountable for continuous air monitoring, sharing of information, and working to help the area recover. This affected not just Jenkintown Borough, it affected Cheltenham Township, it affected Abington Township. There's several properties as a result of the high winds that happened during the incident and after the incident, where there was debris from the roof. If you can imagine, the roof had a foam portion of it as an insulation. Once it was caught in the wind, it went for miles. So they are working through collecting all those items throughout the borough and also into Abington Township. I know for a fact, I've spoken to the environmental contractor who was overseeing the cleanup. They're going and literally scouring each facility, each location to look for particulate all the way down to a quarter or nickel size pieces of debris. So they're not going to go fast. They're going to make sure that they do a thorough cleanup so that they don't have to come back. But they also want to make sure that they're monitoring and make sure that they clean up the properties to make sure that everybody's safe. Based on the reports from the DEP and the EPA, we believe that our area is very safe. with regards to any of the contaminants and air and particulates that they're testing for. I shouldn't say it's safe. I know people used to take that word out of context, but we believe that the area is safe, and we will continue to work with the authorities having jurisdiction on how to deal with the incident. Other than that, I think we can all be very happy to know that there was no lives lost and there was no injuries to first responders. That is a very positive thing moving forward. And I know that there's a lot of speculation throughout the community about whether the soil was impinged by this incident. I'm trusting that the DEP is doing their due diligence, and everybody that we've dealt with from there has been more than professional, as well as the representatives from the SPS. So they are in the mindset of full accountability, and they understand their responsibility to the community. They're working diligently to try and get information out on a regular basis, and I know that some have not felt it as fast enough, but this is going to be a long process. This is going to be a long time for them to demolish the property, to remove all the debris from the facility, but they will continue to monitor that area. There's 14 different air monitors that are out there. There's 7 that are directly around the air site, or around the site of the incident, and then there's 7 or more. I actually believe that they have increased that into Cheltenham, Abington, and Jenkintown, and they are directly in good spots. And I know where those spots are, and I'm not going to describe where they are because we want to make sure that they're secure. I'll take questions from council if you have any.
Questions from council for Chief State.
Oliver, thank you for all that you've done, you and our firefighters and our emergency management team. I hope you've gotten some sleep, and everyone I've spoken to in the community is just deeply grateful.
I was going to pull it up to the yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So, if it's all right with our solicitor, I'm going to open it up to public comment specifically on this subject. So if you have a comment based on the SPS Technologies fire incident, now would be the time to speak on that.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Before we do that, just in accordance with your new public comment policy, just as a reminder, everybody, it's 3 minutes. There's a lot of people here. I don't know if everybody's here to speak on SPS or whatnot, but I just want to remind everybody of that. If you would like, Mr. President, I will turn on
I
my,
appreciate that. Yes.
and I mean no disrespect to anybody, but I just have to do that in order to keep it consistent for everybody.
Okay.
President, I'll answer. There's a question on the chat. Someone's questioning whether the air monitoring, when it started. I briefed the residents who attended the school district meeting on Monday. The air monitoring started immediately once the hazmat team from Montgomery County arrived on scene around 10 o'clock the night of the incident. So that air monitoring has not stopped since then. The stationary devices were placed, I would say, early morning on that Tuesday morning by the EPA. But that was not the only air monitoring that was occurring. The hazmat teams are regularly going out and checking for all the contaminants that they normally do check for.
One other comment before we move on to the public line. I think we just still remove an address for the record. That would be appreciated. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Jane Riley. I was wondering what was being done about the little pieces of SPS that are in the street and on the sidewalks and in the little grass area. And quite honestly, on people's lawns, that I'm sure they're looking for chunks. They're not looking for the smaller pieces.
As I said, ma'am, they
That
are
was actually
checking.
my concern with the kids walking to school and bringing, stepping on.
Ms. Riley, they are checking for the small pieces that you're talking about at every property that they go to clean up. And they're picking all that stuff up.
Yeah, they were on my block for the last 2 days.
But it's straight.
They were in my street.
Okay, because I walked past a few of them and.
Yeah. And also, if they do come by your block and they aren't cleaning up on your yard and the street and your curb, if you don't think the job was sufficient, you can call them and let them know that there's still debris there. And also understand that the wind will probably blow more debris. So I would just keep an eye on it. And there's a hotline. So if you see debris and you're concerned about it, I would definitely call.
Well, I've already called and I'm on the very bottom of the list somewhere on this list.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public? Yes, Kevin.
Wincote Road, 253, Wincote Road. First, thank you for the Borough Council for your volunteer work. I know you're not paid, elected officials. I know your job is hard. A couple of things. I think the borough has been put into a position, and Chief Scott, as defending SPS constantly. And the governor showed up, Madeline Dean showed up, but SPS has yet to show up and answer our questions directly, like why there wasn't a sprinkler system operating in a 600,000 square foot building. Were there fire separations there? Did they have doors open? How did the fire spread that quickly amongst the whole thing? Putting the residents and the firefighters at risk. We heard that there could have been a mass casualty. That didn't make me feel better, actually. Why would it be evacuated? And I think the jury's out still on whether there was a mass casualty. If there's a cancer cluster around the Jenkintown borough based on what came in. And we don't know what we're testing for yet unless they put chemicals on, which they finally did today. But, every history shows us, like 9/11, they didn't know what they were testing for. They said the air was clear and people showed up with cancer, years later. So I'm not necessarily satisfied with the air is fine, that we shouldn't test the soil. We don't know what we're testing for yet until we release the chemicals. And I would encourage the borough to take the resident side on this thing. And we go to defend it as a group. I mean, as the plaintiff as a group. They're to defend it, and defending their comments and repeating their talking points, half measures, half answers. I'd like you to demand what the residents want from them, which is answers on what's going on out. And, if they won't pay for testing that we can't afford, then we should join the lawsuit and make them pay for testing. We should have independent people coming in to tell us that the science is real and get experts beyond the DEP, and make sure that we are protecting our citizens. So I just encourage you to think on the side, represent us. I know you've been put in an odd position having to answer our questions unfairly, in my opinion. I think SPS should be here answering some of these questions for us. Yeah, we're not.
Thank you for your comments. But I want to say that, sometimes we live here. Some of us were in the evacuation zone, including myself. We have kids here. Our kids go to the school, so we're just as concerned as you are. We want answers just as much as you do. And I think from Chief Scott's perspective, Chief Scott is the emergency management coordinator, so he has to, have conversations with SPS, and their feet are being held, I hate to say it, held to the fire by the EPA and the DEP. As far as say the ATF, Montgomery County. So I think he's doing the best he can do under the circumstances. But we're definitely on your side. I mean, Jenkintown took this for on this, and we are aware of it. And I'm not going to say I wasn't annoyed when, everybody's going to show up where the governor is on site, but nobody's coming to Jenkintown. So that I find that rather annoying.
Thank you.
Something in the school board meeting. I'm not defending them, but I mean, we didn't say no one came. That's not true. That guy came to the school board meeting.
No,
Oh, yeah.
But having said that, if I may, if we're not saying things publicly, believe me, we're hearing your voices and we are presenting it to our, we're going through the right channels. You present it to us and we present it to our president, who then sends it up the chain, but believe us, we all hear you and are, you know, we're family here now.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good. Locke at Foreman at Linden Street. I've been pushing for ground and soil testing since this happened before they opened the school back up. So I just brought my kids back to school today because it was the last day that I couldn't do it. And they were supposed to be kept inside, and then the school let them outside anyway, so that's another matter. But I've been coinciding with it. I offered to pay for the soil testing myself due to the lack of resources of the school because of how it's run. But here's the response of what I got from the school board president today. I'm going to read this out and I'm going to make some comments about it as well. All right, this was after asking for testing, saying I'd pay for it myself. All right. First of all of us agree that we would like additional information about the effect of the fire in our community. Most of us would like to see the specific further testing mentioned in your email, and to the extent that it is conducted on private homes in the proximity to the school, not to mention our own houses. We ask that anyone share the information as soon as it becomes available. In terms of whether the school will go ahead with similar testing on the school property, we are restrained both by resources and the recommendations of governmental and other experts in a specific area. I'll comment on that for a second. The resources I would pay for it. And the government experts relying on, the DEP and the EPA, have turned that over to CTEH to do the testing, which has a spotty track record at best. Since they were the ones that did the stuff in Palestine, Ohio, and the BP oil spill. As the community was informed on Monday, all testing recommended and conducted by local, state, and federal authorities since the fire has concluded that the school facilities are safe to use. District administration, in fact, insisted on and was provided additional testing beyond those authorities' initial recommendations, and the testing also showed no risk to our students. Whether soil or surface testing in our case is reliable, informative, or even warranted is not written or is not within the purview of our educational expertise, leaving us relying on those experts, okay, whose job it is to protect communities like ours from environmental pollutants. As you must know, even backyard campfires, okay, have the ability to release pollutants, including heavy metal. Into the surrounding environment. Testing now, the district research into whether Khal, who could plan to conduct such testing in a way that provides information that can be relied upon to inform the school safety determinations, is ongoing. Okay, the school's been open since Friday. It's now Wednesday, before the school was even open. I'll continue. Second, each and every board member strongly objects to characterizing the testing. Could I finish, please?
No, I'm not gonna, all I was gonna tell you is your time's up. If you could wrap up your comments, that would be helpful.
Yeah, can I take someone's time?
No.
Can somebody finish reading
It
this?
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so under the new policy, you cannot yield time to anybody, because the idea is we're trying to allow.
I come up and read the rest of this?
No, I'm not trying to, no,
I'd like people to hear this. I just got this email back.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, my other comment is, I'm willing to pay for the testing myself. I think it's absurd. And the end of it, it says that people should test their own houses and then let the school know. The school can't afford it. I think this is something the borough could push to get done immediately, because I don't feel safe, whether I'm being alarmist or not. If there's heavy metals and chemicals that rain down on the ground and are sitting there and leaching into the ground, that's the thing where there's no longer a town here. There's no longer a school. All those kids could be poisoned. Every one of us could. And we're all evacuating. This town no longer exists. So yeah, the same thing. 20 years down the road, highly possible with the people that are reporting all of this.
So if I could just get your name, office, right?
He already said it.
Bob Ballard.
Oh, the new, yeah.
Your last name is you?
What?
Are you? Poverty in age? Yeah.
We didn't hear,
Yeah, I'm trying.
hear his name.
Bob,
Right there. Wait.
Bob, I'm so sorry. Could you repeat your last name again?
Khal. KOHLHEPP.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, my name is Sean Parker. I'm at 217 Hillside, 2.5 to 3 blocks away from the site. All right. So just finished up his comments. We have made and continue to make inquiries to those same authorities as well as to SPS itself to ensure that we are continually apprised of the ongoing testing results and any other information that surfaces during the course of the investigation. Just like the rest of the Jenkintown community, we want to know what was burned up and blown into our faces and homes. At the same time, we also strongly believe that education is absolutely critical to public service. COVID empirically proved that there is just no substitute for high quality in-person teaching, especially for our most vulnerable children. The board supports the administration's commitment to providing these services as soon as it is safe to do so. Because every authority with environmental and public health expertise has so far been uniform in the recommendation that it is safe to provide these services in Jenkintown. The board supports the administration's reopening plans. All of us are borough residents and we share everyone's frustration with the unsatisfying answer that investigations are ongoing. The list of heavy metals and toxic chemicals that may have burned at SPS is genuinely terrifying. We will continue to demand aggressive testing and remediation, except no ground testing. And we will continue to ask questions of those with authority in this area and share any answers we receive. We hope you will join us in seeking out additional reliable information to keep our children safe and educated. Sincerely, Megan O'Brien on behalf of the school board and JC Evan. And just some of my comments. As you're all aware, this isn't the first time this company has had safety violations. They were fined what was essentially pocket change to them. How can we assure this company is held accountable in a manner that will actually discourage infractions that put the local community further at risk, assuming we still have a community? Thank you.
So thank you.
Yes, Sean Parker.
Is there any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Branch wide, 413 Maiden Street. I just wondering.
Hold on, I didn't start your time. George was asking me a question. I'm sorry, for the record, we have to get to.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Not that, but we still have to, for minute purposes, we have to put it down. That's not my rule. Did you say your name? Do you have it, George?
I know how to spend.
Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
I mean, yes, there's soot everywhere. It's, almost a week later and there's still gray soot everywhere on the cars every day and it's not pollen anymore. So, is there something that, I know we have street cleaners, is Public Works going to get out and maybe clean the streets before the rain? Let's just know.
I'm not aware of any street cleaning going on. I think they might have been advised not to do that.
Okay.
Do you have any more on that, Manager Locke?
I do not. I just know that it hasn't been scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any, yes.
Hi, I'm Heather Hennis, 217 Runnymede Avenue. I think two takeaways for me from this past week is that, number one, there are a number of pockets of neighbors on different streets that are forming email listservs. And, my neighbors and I started talking and we started one of these and all of a sudden it started to blow. It was out of control. And, one of the main topics on these discussions is the question of soil testing, the question about heavy metal. And quite frankly, most of us don't. I studied high school chemistry, and that was about it, right? So I don't know when we talk about heavy metals, whether or not those would be as airborne as the VOCs, and whether or not that's something that we need to be testing for. So I think that a takeaway for me is that we need education about these topics. That's coming directly from the experts and the borough circumventing SPS, and that community members really need to have a forum where we can get this information directly and frequently and have an idea of what a schedule is. So when could we expect to have maybe a meeting in which somebody comes and explains to us what goes and possible ramifications and what would be airborne and what wouldn't be airborne, and so that we can be educated about it. Because in the meantime, what people are doing is sending samples to this lab, and I called a number of people myself and talked with some environmental chemists to explain some things to me, and it's very fragmented. We're a small community, so we could have a little more streamlined information system about the science behind this. And I think that if people had more of that kind of information, then we talk about lawsuits and all of the fear might be mitigated a little bit. Schedule of when this kind of information might come in, it may be helpful.
Well, we're a step ahead, you know,
Sure.
we've already tried to do that,
Okay.
because that was my exact feeling, was that I walked out of the school board meeting and I said, people aren't chemists and they don't know, and there's a lot of fear of what they don't know. And so I said, we need to get the hazmat team in here to explain to us about chemicals, about testing. How do you test? How long do you test? What do you test for? What's airborne? What's not? They were going to come tonight and they couldn't come. It's just, you know, this just happened. What, are we a week out? So, I mean, it's been a lot, you know, and the borough still has their everyday business too. Not to like brush it off, but like, it's so much. And so we really tried, we wanted them to be here tonight for that exact reason. Because that was my feeling of the school board meeting was, this is what we need information.
That was mine too, Washington. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we will continue to invite them, and when over time, I think that they will be in one of our meetings to talk on that subject, so.
Or even like a special meeting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, sure.
I would like to come to say something about, you know, the president of the school board. She's highly qualified to speak, and I appreciate the tone she has taken because she's evidence-based, and I firmly trust her judgment in the emails that she sent and the tone that she's taken. It was the superintendent who went off and challenged at the public meeting with the governor and the congresswoman and SPS about CHET, whatever the name of the organization is, and she did that to their face. So I feel very confident that the school board is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that they have the expertise, and I appreciate you reading that letter. I felt actually very good about that letter. So.
Can I ask you, is that still the same?
Public comment, you want to
The
start?
same company doing the testing?
Is there any other public comment? Yes, of course. I was gonna get to you. I swear I was. Chief Lee.
Gentlemen, with the maple thing. On February 17, 2025 at 9:43 p.m., the fire department along with surrounding mutual aid companies responded to one of the largest, most complex incidents that we've ever experienced. 26 volunteers from the fire department selflessly did what they do every day and responded to the incidents to protect the community. A response that demonstrated the extraordinary courage, strength, professionalism, training, capabilities, and commitment to service that our first responders can be proud of. The chief of the department, I want to express my sincere gratitude and how incredibly proud I am of every member's performance during this most precedented incident. The dedication of command staff down, nothing short of outstanding. I had the privilege to work alongside of and hand in hand with the best fire officers and firefighters in the region. Like many others, I worked on minimum sleep that week. I spent most of my time at the incident as the juncture with Chief Scott to ensure that our interests in Borough were being represented and protected. Chief Scott's professionalism and collaboration with regional emergency management task force was a key element to the successful outcome of this. The support for the first responders from the community and visible to our residents has been overwhelming, and I can't thank everybody for that. We often talk about being a close-knit community in Jenkintown. While I was out doing what I do, members of the community reached out to my wife, my children, and make sure they were okay, offering random acts of kindness and compassion. The kind of emotional support doesn't go unnoticed. For every responder, this has impacted, there's been a huge impact in their own life as well. Although they may not be the fire incident, our spouses, partners, are listening to scanners waiting for us to return. They have to keep the house running, the schedules kept, and everything clean because the world simply doesn't stop. It's my biggest supporter, my wife. Thank you. And that we can continue to do what we do and protect the community. Thank you.
Any other public comment? I guess, you spoke.
I did, but I got one small question. Okay.
You know what, Mr. Parker? We're gonna have another public comment session. So in order to be fair, why don't you wait till the next one?
I just wanted to know what the decision was made at the outset that prevented the mass casualty event, and I'm sure others would like to know too, right?
I'm sorry.
What was the decision made at the outset of the event that prevented it from being a mass casualty event?
I'm not sure anybody on Borough Council would know the answer to that question.
I can answer that.
Yes.
So,
Okay, then I will keep my mouth shut.
Chief Lynch didn't talk about this, but this facility has been here for many, many years. All of the fire departments that surround it and are part of managing any incident that could occur there have regularly been training and pre-planned for any incident at the location. As a result of that, they know where the storage of the hazardous chemicals, the bulk storage is for the facility. Right on the initial arrival on scene, they knew what area they needed to protect the most from fire impinging, and they were very successful in that management of the fire to make sure that. And this is with 25-mile-an-hour winds and other issues that were occurring at that time, extreme cold, but they did an exemplary job, and I can't commend Chief Lynch anymore than saying that I think he and I were there a total of almost 80 hours over the 114 hours of operations. The fact that he did that and he was there fighting back and forth between me and him for 30 hours in the initial incident. So I think he deserves a lot of credit, and his unwavering support to help out Abington Township with his expertise and management and ability to manage the fire. But that was the reason why we were able to prevent a catastrophic incident or a mass casualty incident. So I think that Chief Malloy had tried to explain that in the press conferences, but that was the reason why, is because the fire departments had practiced and prepared and had been planning and ready to go if there was ever an incident there. And you can't say any more than they did an exemplary job of protecting the community from any release of those large storage kegs.
Hassan from Pennoni, our engineer. Khal, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I don't know if you'll wait till you report, but there's been a lot of commentary on the soil, the testing of the soil. Can you just explain your role, or Pennoni's role as our engineer, and how you're working with the borough from an environmental standpoint?
Sure. So, as Council President mentioned, we are the borough engineer. However, we are not involved in the actual fire evaluation. But based on information that we have been receiving from Abington Township and other reliable sources, it was mentioned several times by Chief Lynch, Chief Scott already. I want to go back to the air monitoring situation. There are reportedly about a dozen monitoring locations included within Abington Township that are being monitored continuously. The soil testing, based on information that we receive, until the DEP receives any positive reads, any positive results from the air monitoring, and also from the water testing that they are completing now within the immediate streams within the borough of Jenkintown or also Abington, that's when they will get to the next step if needed in soil testing. This is the information they receive. At this point, they need additional evidence, additional data to realize and make a determination how, when, or if the soil testing is going to continue. I was mentioned before about updates. The DEP has a website that updates this information from the SBS fire on a daily basis and also on an SD basis. If you go to the DEP website, you will see the information there. They have a dedicated section for that. And also on the Abington Township website, they have a dedicated section under frequently asked questions this section is also provided daily and also as needed and as updates come into the township and they updated. I assure you, the borough is as concerned as all the residents are. And any information that comes into the borough, we'll make sure it is shared with the residents during these public settings. But I urge you really to continue going to the DEP website and also the Abington website to get these all continuous and daily updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. So if there isn't any more public comment regarding SPS, I'm going to move on to, we have a presentation. I am going to go back to, I know there's people here to comment on other topics, and I will go back to that. But we do have a presentation by Hudson, who is with us, and the presentation is on Legacy Park. So if you could give her your undivided attention, it would be very much appreciated.
Yeah.
And we also admit the DVD city projector, I'll make this client on. Well, when I sign on to it, I think that might. Yeah. So I just sign off.
I'm sure that's what we're going to see. Check it out. Share rated the room. You suggested I move. Well, I don't stare at that room.
So I'll let you try.
Yeah.
I just don't know. It's anything for you out. What's the question?
Sure, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, if she joins the Zoom and she shares her screen, then it would be up on the big screen.
We're probably about don't kick that about every 90 seconds.
Yeah. Fine. That's that's it.
Would you want to, if she wanted, you want to go on one Zoom from here?
She might let me help me and then
Andrews and what's your email?
Call me KELOYA
Okay, sure. So we have one out. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 cents.
I still want to know that anymore. What's written that? I want to make sure I.
You get it?
First, when I break the
I'll make you see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually do that for making them co-host. Yeah, I don't think man.
It's there.
Okay, you should be. What? Yes.
Yeah.
I was doing, so I was doing. It's like, everybody seconds with the doing all. Don't make a fortune when it's just hard work and it's not so.
Now it's screen of the screen we can get.
Okay, so now, this may go us, this may put us in the try to get right back on like a tail, okay?
Here we go. All right.
Are we good? Are we ready? Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, I have 40 high school. Super Zen card. Like I said.
Yeah, right. I'm Kelly Hudson and Jillian Greenberry, and we are representing the community board for the Legacy Park Initiative. We are here tonight to kind of give a smaller version of what you can expect at the highway on March 9th. When we have that event, it will be a lot of the same information, but there will also be members of the original build team there who helped us get the playground off the ground the first time. And this is our kickoff. So we are hoping to let people know ways that they can get involved, ways that they can donate, and basically spread the word about the initiative and what we're hoping to do here in Jenkintown. So tonight we're going to quickly go over what the mission of the new park is. We're going to show the original build video, which is actually a treat. It's from 2002 and it's just a little gem. We'll go over the community survey results that were taken at the end of last year. So we did have a large amount of our community members take it. We've also given a different survey at age appropriate levels to the elementary, middle, and high school students so that we're getting a temperature of everybody in the borough that will be utilizing the park. We'll share what fundraising we have to date, the ways that you can give, the volunteer opportunities that we have outlined thus far. I'm sure those will continue to grow and change as we get further along in the process, and our upcoming events.
Before we get much further, does anyone not know what we're talking about when we say Legacy Park?
I don't know what.
Okay, great. So, just to give a little bit of a backstep, as we all know, the Jenkintown Elementary School playground is suffering from old age, near the end of its lifespan. And so we as a community board have come together to try and find a way to reimagine not just the playground area, but the entire green space of Jenkintown Elementary School into a community presenting park. And so this is our mission statement.
So I'll read it out loud just because it might be difficult with the type. The mission of Legacy Park is to be a community space that serves the children of Jenkintown and the young at heart. The team involved in this initiative looks forward to working with both the school and the broader community to enhance our town by creating an inclusive park where play and memories can thrive as they have for generations. All of us here in Jenkintown know we are limited in our footprint, so we want to take great advantage of the green space that we do have available to us. And while it is predominantly used by the elementary school, we want to make sure that it is accessible for a broader clientele of borough members and as well as neighboring townships.
as well. So we are hoping to have better walkways, lighted pathways. There's a lot of things that we're doing to be more inclusive, and to build up to be on for the town that we all really love.
Without losing what makes the existing playground really special.
Yeah. And then we have the video. Maybe. I know. I'm curious in it. He's got a video. She was just like, her whole thing was around, yeah. Like George an upgrade.
They have the court's order to fix it. I know that's not.
Was anybody here when it was built?
Yes.
Was anybody living in the borough when it was built?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are they really
in the old?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
What are they doing with the old plans?
So we have two schools of thought. We're either going to do a reverse fundraiser and allow people to buy them back at a weekday, and that's one way to raise funds. Only because we will be changing the location of things, and they may not be as structurally sound. You find that. Let's double up. Okay, so here's a video. Enjoy. I don't know if I'm trying to. No, that's illegal.
You can turn off the lights on that side of the room by the way. The other side, they'll make it better.
Should we put the audio going? Yes. Really good things.
We have a much bigger screen at the highway.
Yeah, the highlight.
It's not right. Yes.
You both.
Take this on. Take this on.
This one's. I'm gonna go ahead and let that pause for now. Only because we can. Well, what were you gonna do? So if you come on the 9th to the highway, it will be up on the large highway screen. So you'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly and engage with it. We will also be having speakers, Maya Cheek, who was a big part of the project, kind of getting some insights. So let's take a look at our survey results. So the survey was completed by 159 of our community members.
We were posted up at major Jennytown events for the last 6 months. We sent emails out, just trying to get as much of a variety of a response as possible. And we're really pleased with the information that we were given. Yeah, sure. And so what we were really interested in were a couple of different categories of information. What time of day the playground was mostly utilized in. We all know that it's utilized during the day by school children, but what we were surprised to see is that actually this largest chunk in red here was after school hours.
Yeah.
Right here.
Definitely not surprised.
And
Okay. So the next largest was weekends with 25%. Evenings were the third largest chunk. Afternoons, school hours, and anytime. So we know that this playground is very well loved in town, hence why it's kind of in the state it is. It gets used and abused, and we're ready for a new one. The ages of children who utilize this space, the predominant age is 5 to 11 years. But we do know that there's a lot of smaller members in our community who we are hoping to incorporate in a different way so that we will have an updated tot lot included. We know that there's a lot of grandparents here who also like to bring their grandchildren to the playground, and we want to make sure that it's accessible to them, but also safe from the population of the school children so that they're not getting trampled and run over in the way that they have in the past. So we're hoping to really make it safer for the smaller ones who aren't in school yet, fun for the ones who are currently in the school during the day, and also available outside of school hours for the rest of the community. Children.
So the top 4 priorities that we listed a whole bunch. We had people have open-ended questions. We got a lot of variety of feedback, but really what things really circled back around to over and over again was that people really desire a variety of play structures and safety way over anything else that we have listed. And so we're interpreting safety as being adequate fencing, adequate lighting at night, the safety of the play structures themselves, maintaining sight lines so that parents who are helping out with school lunch duty can keep an eye on the kids, the teachers that are out there can keep an eye on the kids. And then what else is important to the community, also long-term maintenance and sustainability. We all know that we've all seen, existing wooden structures that have fallen away to plastic or, metal, kind of generic looking structures. We're not going to do that to Jennytown. We want to make sure that whatever we replace our structure with is not only going to be have the longevity and the sustainability, but it will last for a long time. And so long-term maintenance is definitely a high priority for us as a community group as well. And so finally, top 4 zones of play, because we understand that not every kid plays the same, not every parent plays the same. Traditional play spaces, of course, ranked at the top. It's the playground we all know and love. But people also really gravitated towards imaginative play areas, open play areas, shaded areas, and then, of course, court spaces.
So far, we have raised $145,960.26. We are keeping track of every last penny. You will be seeing a lot more initiatives coming to town. I'll get to those in a little bit, but we currently have a Venmo connection with the JEF, the Jennytown Education Fund. So they are basically our bank. Anything that we bring in, they are housing for us. They are searching for grants for us. It's a wonderful partnership that we have fostered with them. So we're using their Venmo, their banking account, and we're linked to them. So there will be other avenues to do that, but you'll be seeing these around town. We're going to put them in school. So if you want to contribute a little bit here and there, or if you want to hold out for a larger donation.
Everyone really cares about where their taxpayer money is going. None of this is being funded by the Borough or the Jennytown School. This is all 100% either donation or grant funding.
Yeah.
And so if
our generous neighbors are able to donate. That's obviously great. We're also looking into, state and city grants
as well as business partnerships and sponsorships. So it is 100% going to be funded through our community, and we are looking to, all of that funding will go towards equipment, landscaping, enhanced pathways, and lighting. So if anybody has a lead, if you have a connection within your, business that they match grants, we will please help you facilitate those. So our email is play@jtowndrakes.org. So if you need help working through a donation, we can be really creative about how to roll that out. It could be monthly, it could be once a year, whatever you feel comfortable with, and it doesn't have to be a big enough to make a difference. We really can get there on lots of incremental donations as well. If you want to skip PayPal or Venmo or any of that, you can drop a check directly to the school district, the administration office. As long as it says playground in the memo, it will get right to us. They will take care of depositing that for us. And again, Venmo is the thing that everybody loves to do now, but if you make sure that you put legacy or playground in the memo line, that's how it will be identified for us, rather than the general funds that JF also handles. They take care of our students in any way. So because you want it to go directly towards this initiative, that's how you let us know.
And there's a QR code.
Keep an eye out for upcoming events that we're going to be involved in. I know that it seems like 150,000 is a lot of money to have already raised, but it really barely scratches the surface when we start talking about the level of involvement, playgrounds especially, but also just we're talking about soil remediation potentially. So
about water drainage issues over there. We want to regrade. There are large pieces of this that are not just as simple as putting in new swings and a slide. Yeah. Well, we don't have a firm number, but upwards of 2 million. Yeah, upwards of 2 million.
And stretch as much as you.
No, and we're hoping to continually bring some of those things down if we can get donation partners and companies to provide certain things along the way. So we're being really creative. We want to stretch our dollars as far as we possibly can so that we're providing as much as possible for the students and the community.
And the design work is also being done pro bono.
By Jill.
The survey has been done by a local landscape firm. I'm an architect. My firm is volunteering our design time to make sure that we get this off the ground.
Yeah, it's Jenkintown is fueling this. So we've had people within the borough lending their services, not just their pocketbooks. So if you are uniquely talented, we would love your input and help. Yeah.
Do you have a drink runner?
We have JF, so it's Nina Redcock, who's also on the school board, but we're always looking for more. So if you know or are you capable, we would love to have you on board with us. Any ways that we can be reaching out for grants is huge.
So these are a list of upcoming events.
Yeah. So the first one that we are going to be outlining is our Tuesday night markets. Everybody knows and loves our Tuesday night markets. We're going to be having a booth at those. JCA has been really gracious in allowing us to have that free of charge so that we can talk to prospective donors, get people involved, spread the word about the initiative, as well as sell merchandise. So if you like to have commemorative things, a good t-shirt, any of those things, we're going to have small things for the kids, pencils, erasers, things like that. So we are looking for help on those Tuesday night markets. We're going to need bodies to staff the booth. It doesn't mean you need to be there every Tuesday. It could be, once a month for you if that feels doable. We'll also need help on the Battle of the Bands. So that's something fun that's going to be happening at the first Tuesday night market, I believe, first one. We're going to have you hosting lots of Jenkintown bands, whether it's a high school band or a dad band or an a cappella group. We are collecting the talent that we have in spades here, and we're going to be showcasing them. We will need people to come and play. We will need managing and assisting in the event, coordinating vendors, just lending a hand. That's going to be a big lift. So we're looking for help with that. The next one is merchandise. If you have experience in graphic design or merchandising, and we are going to need help creating those, pushing them out, delivering them. This is a fun one that if you don't have a lot of time to make in person, this is work that can be done, in spare time at homes. And these will be sold at our events and our night markets. So that's where we're hoping to use the merchandise. This is a fun way to get the kids in the community involved and have something to take home with them. We're also going to be doing a popcorn fundraiser. I'm sure some of you have seen that. It's an app, so we just need somebody to manage the app. It's ongoing all the time. People can just shop through the popcorn that's apparently quite good, and it just a lot of the proceeds go directly into our pocket. The next one that we're going to be having is a goodbye picnic. So when the playground eventually does come down, we want to send it off with a little bit of fanfare. So we'll be having an event that allows the kids, the families, the builders, anybody in the community to come out. We'll look a fair of it. We'll have tubes, there will be music, lots of entertainment, and really just end it off before it leaves us as a town. So we'll need, again, volunteers, ticket sales, food sales, general volunteers, game runners, and MC and bands for that event. The next one is the Red and Blue Fair. We are hoping to have our design reveal at the Red and Blue Fair with some games and events that the kids can participate in. Maybe they want to draw their own playground, and we can teach them a little bit about the design process. We can have manipulatives for them there. So we're just going to need bodies to help us staff that on May 17th. The last one that we have is fundraising and community outreach. If you or someone you know has a knack for raising funds, leads on donors, ideas for events and sponsorship or partnership opportunities, we want to bring you in. We would like to partner with you. This is not going to happen on the backs of a few. It's really going to take the hands of everybody here to get this going. And it's not just for the school kids this time. Not that it wasn't last time, but we're hoping to really make sure that it's reaching many more in our town.
So we have these sign-up sheets. They'll be available on the table after the meeting or wherever it makes sense to set them up. If you are feeling already drawn to a specific event, please feel free to sign up and we'll send you more information. But if you don't feel like you're in a position to volunteer, the best support you can give is just to show up to the events and have a good time and invite all of your neighbors and friends as well, because the more people we get there and the more hype we get for this project, the better we're all.
Yes, so our kickoff event, the larger version of this presentation, is going to be at the Highway, Sunday, March 9th. It'll be a rolling presentation. So we will have presentations beginning at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then if you're not able to come for that beginning kickoff, we're going to have everything rolling so that you can come in, maybe after soccer, after church, whatever fits your schedule until 12 o'clock so that we can accommodate the majority of schedules. We know everybody is really busy. Our kickoff event is just, and we will schedule the coffee via white person. Food is what gets people. Yeah. We just really want to invite enthusiastic generational park that welcomes everyone in our community. We feel that together we can inspire a brighter future and develop a vibrant space that embodies the spirit of Jenkintown. We hope that everyone is drawn to get involved in something truly special. Your participation will be instrumental in achieving our goal and bringing our community park to life. So if you want to stay in touch with us, there's a couple of ways to do that. Like I said earlier, we have an email that is through the school district and play@jtowndrakes.org. We have a Facebook group that is the Legacy Park at Jenkintown Elementary. And if you want to join us for the 9th, there's a QR code up there. It might be a little bit grainy, so I'll leave my computer up after the meeting as well. We would like to have people RSVP to that, not even if you're staying the whole time, even if you're planning on popping in, just so that we make sure we don't run out of meeting space for everybody. Does anybody have any questions after all of that?
Why the name?
Legacy, we felt it was fitting with Jenkintown, knowing that in this town, people like to hold on to tradition. But we don't want the tradition to stymie us. We want to use the tradition as a way to improve that.
I think it's also a nice one, but also the only part. It's a community tradition that we hope to keep rolling on throughout several generations.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Thank you. Your work. Thank you.
No, very sorry.
We make it work, right?
What?
Okay, I'm gonna circle back to public comment. If there's any public comment, regarding anything but SPS technologies, will be the yes, Allison.
Hi, thank you. Jonathan Fraser, live at Cedar Street. I'm here again to ask you to vote no on the changes to the parking ordinance. Specifically, my issue is with adding parking level, giving parking to the block of Cedar Street, Ballard. And you won't vote no And I would ask that you table the vote and meet with the residents of our blocks, so the blocks that are impacted by this proposal. The residents of my block, a lot of them are here, we've shown up at the past meetings when we found out about it. We don't want this to happen, we want to meet with you. So I want to find out clearly what your rationale is for these changes, how we can continue to stand and continue to hear from us and how we're going to impact us. There's conflicting reasons that we're being told why you're adding park mobile to our block. I don't know if it had to do with either the parking enforcement, what was going on at the January meeting. So I can't ask you this question and have you respond to me because this is a public comment meeting that just illustrates my point, which is that we need to have a meeting to sit down with the residents so that we can have a back and forth, a dialogue, and you can hear from us, find out what our concerns are, and find out what it is like living on our block. You didn't inform us about these significant changes. In the previous meeting, I called that the chief said that you should personally invite people on the block. That did not happen. We did not find out about this. You could have knocked on our doors. You could have dropped off flyers. You could have mailed us letters. You could have emailed us a survey. Legacy Park did a wonderful presentation. They had that beautiful survey. That's what I would like you to do for us, to find out how is the permit parking working for us right now. So I want to hear what your concerns are, why you're proposing these changes, ask for our input, do some sort of a formal or informal survey, and just listen to us to hear, like, how does this work on our street? So the questions that I think you should ask are how many people are satisfied with the permit system? What's working and what's not? How many permits are there on the block? And generally, how many spots are there? How many spots are free at different times of day? How many people have available off-street parking? And are they still parking on the street or are they using their driveways? Do people have difficulty finding spots near their homes or on their block? Are people, clogging up the system with extra cars? They have childcare, mobility issues, disabilities that are going to impact them now. They're not going to be able to park near their homes. Has the system improved since you put in the permit system 15 years ago? Is the postal, service, the postal employees still parking in front of our homes? Is that an issue? Has that changed since the new people have started enforcing this? So these are all questions that you did not come to us and ask. I asked at the last meeting last week when you had a workshop meeting, which we really didn't get a chance to have a lot of back and forth because it took so long. I asked, why didn't you have experts come? And you said your experts were in-house, the people that you spoke to. We are the experts. We live in the 400.
I understand. Ms. Fraser, if you could just wrap it up, this.
Thank you.
Been very generous.
That was exactly my point, Jay, that we can't have the dialogue back and forth. The other public comment.
Thank you for your comment.
So, I appreciate you taking the time and I hope that you will now terminate this.
Thank you. Is there any other? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Bill Fraser. I also live on the corner block of Cedar 416. First of all, I want to also say Legacy Park presentation was great. My wife and I volunteered as Chronicle employees at the time, building that park, and I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with that. To the parking issue, I don't believe that any of my fellow neighbors here from 400 Cedar Street support Park Mobile coming in. I find it very puzzling that during last week's meeting that Borough Council members said they didn't understand why Cedar Street residents were back once again. When it seemed like, some of the folks were happy during the January meeting, some concessions were made. Yes, some changes were made because the initial proposal, in my opinion, was ludicrous. One that never would have been approved had you all come to us and had some dialogue in the first place. No one here wants that. So, as Allison said, there needs to be some sort of an actual workshop that happens, not the type of workshop meeting that was held last week when there was no dialogue. I don't understand what the rush to vote today is, and I ask that you guys table this decision until some of these suggestions are made. As I said, parking is very tight on the 400 block. I'm concerned about lines that are going to be potentially painted to designate, parking spaces. I feel like that's going to reduce the number of spaces. I also want to point out that due to the current congestion that we've been dealing with for a long time on Cedar, that many of my fellow neighbors, pay a very hefty sum, upwards of close to $1,000 a year, so that we can park off street, so that some of our neighbors can fit into the available parking spaces. And so that right there should show folks how congested it currently is. I don't understand why, we don't just take Manager Locke's suggestion last week, which was to leave the one side of Cedar Street as permit parking only, and the other side, as we agreed to about a month ago, 3-hour maximum unless you have a permit. I think that's a very viable solution. In fact, that's the way that this block is set up currently. So I don't understand if that is the proposal that was brought forth last week. Why does Park Mobile need to be added to our block? Yes, it's only going to invite and advertise to people looking to park in the borough to park on our street where there's no available parking. I mean, it's a fact, and you'll see that as has been demonstrated in previous comments. So while I disagree, with several of the suggestions that were initially made by the chief and the council, I do appreciate the fact that the chief made a really good, effective blocking to have an actual workshop meeting. And I don't think that that's happened. And I'm just asking that you take a look at this decision. If you don't, let me know today. Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Is there any other public comment? Yes, ma'am. Sorry. You'll be next.
Borough 5 Cedar. My name's Mary Jane Hood. I was here a month ago to discuss this. There's a lot of concerns that I have. Number one, you guys are even limiting to just 2 stickers. I have a 20-year-old who goes to Penn State Abington, lives at home. This means that we're going to have to pay a meter for him to park. There'll be no other side of the street for 3 hours. There'll be nothing available. So that's another concern. And I get that some people have trouble and they only have 2 cars, but I'm really worried about that end of it. I mean, I am going to have to pay out of pocket to a meter. And here's my other concern. I download the app to try and get educated on it. And from what I can see, they can actually go in, people that think, all right, I'm going to Marzano's. Let me see where there's parking with Park Mobile. They go in the app and they can actually reserve it ahead of time. Like, plan to take the spot in front of my house, and then I have no say. I just think this is really, for those of us that don't have driveways in this borough and pay our taxes, I think the same thing. We need to be able to have a question and answer and a conversation, not just comment and then we're shut down on it. And I get that's how this works, guys, but it's very frustrating for those of us who are going to lose our parking. I live at the top of the street. If someone's going on West Avenue, they're going to park where I park because I'm closest to West Avenue. So I'm really going to feel this. I try very driveways that they don't use extra spots, but like my mom's next door, she's 84. She's not going to be there forever. And I'm worried about what it's going to do just to my daily life, but also trying to sell my house with a Park Mobile sign up. There's a lot of concerns. I think maybe this isn't the time to answer it and to make a definite vote on this. The chief's not here, the mayor's not here, and we haven't had that opportunity to kind of go back and forth with you guys. And I do appreciate your time. I'm not acknowledging all the time you give, but I just think that this should be curbed and just put aside until we can kind of have a bigger discussion that is centered on what works for residents. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mary.
Hi, Joyce Stevens, 408 Cedar Street. I also agree with all of my neighbors. We're asking that the things go down for if that hold this conversation so that we can have a meeting, sit down and talk and discuss all of the concerns that were expressed by our neighbors. We feel like we at least did that to our street. As you can see, it's very close knit. And we look out for each other. We're pretty considerate of each other, but turning the Park Mobile will just make things more confusing. So we ask you to consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, me, Heidi Bradshaw again, 413 Leadham Street, the street that hasn't been mentioned until tonight because no one told us this was happening.
Right.
Okay, 10 hours? 10 hours. Why would someone need to park for 10 hours on Leadham Street from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.? Why 6 p.m. when it was already 5 p.m.? How come we've never heard from our ward people who seem to live in our blocks but haven't come around to talk to us? Deborah, you know me. You've asked us to run the 150, but this you can come to me and talk to me about. I agree with everybody on Cedar Street that this is ridiculous and it should not be voted on tonight. If you don't vote no, you should at least table this so you can actually talk to the people who live on those streets. I appreciate there are 4 whole businesses on West Avenue and Leadham that do very well. They've been there for over 25 years. So I'm not exactly sure how desperate they are for parking. I like Trish, I like Katie, I like Capricorn. I shop in those stores. We have a wonderful parking lot right across the street where people can park. I also appreciate that the borough has no money, but a parking garage would really save a lot of time and effort to all of this. I'm not sure why the hell Wiggs is going to become apartments. The 2 buildings that were just built have no residents yet. They have leased to 2 people so far in the 2 buildings that we have just built in the Jenkintown area. I'm sorry, I'm boring you. But the idea of putting parking meters on Leadham Street is atrocious. We're not as close as you guys, but we try and park very respectfully for each other. It's already difficult, like really difficult on Leadham if you've ever tried at night. And we're not even in the business district. I don't know, I heard that you all thought we were. Only Johnson is the business. Leadham and Cedar and Maple are all residential.
Yes.
We pay for parking, and yet we still sometimes can't get parking. Imagine if you put people there for 10 hours when not everybody works until 6. Some people work from home. There's a lot of things you haven't considered, and maybe talking to us would actually help with some of this.
Yeah.
And we are the ones who do most of the work in the borough. So maybe talk to those people who do those things. At least table this argument for tonight. Please do not vote on this tonight until the people who can be held accountable and actually answer the question that none of us have the answer to, which is why?
Right.
Why would this be beneficial for the borough? Is there that much money to be made? $4 a car for 10 hours on a street. Raise the price of the meters elsewhere. Why you've allowed it? I was here for the July meeting. I appreciate the 20 minutes in the business district, but it's ridiculous. It's all I can say.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on that? Yes.
My name is Nicole Smith. I'm at 425 Leadham. It's my neighbor. You know about this till this morning when she called me and told me about this meeting tonight. Parking on my street is like sliding your car in with a butter knife in between each other, okay? It is tight, and we have to park tightly as residents to get in there. I'm sorry, am I boring you? I mean, I live here. This is important to me. Excuse me. You're one of our work. Here too. No, I wasn't talking about you, I was talking to him.
Oh, okay. I'm reading the ordinance.
No, but my point is this, can I have 3 minutes? Okay, thank you. We are so parked in there so tightly, and parking isn't enforced until after 6 p.m. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna allow people to park from 8 to 6, and then there's no parking enforcement, and then I still can't park. I have gotten 2 tickets in the past, 4 weeks for parking off of my street, because I have to get a permit. So I'm required to park on my street, and then I can't because of unpermitted parking there. It is brutal. We are working with the police. We call them when we see unpermitted parking, and we're told, tell us which cars it is because we're not getting out of our car to go look. Okay? So if that's the case, why don't you deputize me, give me the tickets, and I'll go out and put them on their car. Because if I'm going to do that job for you, then I'll do the whole job. Why not part of it? I don't want this on my street. It's already bad enough. I feel like we should be a resident-only street, and that's that. Half my neighbors have parking spots, half don't. We are resident-only from West to Cherry. And that's it. And when my neighbors are all home, 99% of the time we can get in. Sometimes we can't. I'm asking you to vote no on this, or at least talk to us about this, because you know what? I got zero notification about this. I didn't know anything about this until today. I live here. I work here. Sometimes I work in the city. I come home at odd hours because of my job. I realize sometimes I don't have a place to walk. I'm fine with that. But I'm getting tickets as a resident parking off my street because I can't get on my street, and you guys are making it harder for me to get on my street. I was hoping you were going to make it easier. You know, but it's tough. I mean, we have people who have driveways and things like that. And most of my neighbors who have a driveway, they utilize it, okay? Which is good, because I'd be a little salty if they could, to be honest with you. People try to be as cognizant as they can of each other and park, you know, as well as we can. But we're puzzling in and out every single day of our lives. So now you want to add more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
my name's Joe Paul at 403 on Cedar. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the borough benefits from, you don't have a problem with our parking. We're in there talking about how we have to get 2 parking enforcement officers, train them, and I'm going to guess they have vehicles, and we're paying for someone to run an app for us. So how much money does that, are we taking $100 bills and throwing them down the street to get pennies? Is that what we're doing here? I mean, this is the best, and please do not take this as an insult. You are a trusted servant, so we voted for you. And this is the best that you've come up with, is to rent out the spots that we have in front of our house. That's really the best you came up with. That's all I got.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Yes.
I'm probably gonna say senior, it's easier to read this. Linda McGrath, 411 Cedar Street. It's been less than 10 years ago, I guess, we had a comprehensive plan study done for the town. The 2035 comprehensive plan. Attached to that was a parking study. And the odd thing is, we're all talking about how the businesses, you know, it's we're going to be sort of, I don't know, in other words, to say native, but that study actually said quite the opposite, you know. It said Strategy ED8, that was the company, within the economic development theme, recommends that a change parking study be conducted to evaluate parking need and supply in the main commercial districts, as well as the residential areas, particularly residential areas adjacent to the commercial uses and the station where spillover parking may have a negative impact on the supply of parking for the borough residents. Below is an outline, et cetera, et cetera. So this study was saying quite the opposite. Pay attention to the residential areas around the commercial district. We don't want that spillover to happen. But now we're inviting the spillover. We're saying we don't even care if Count Square is full or not. We want those people to come on these residential streets, which is crazy, right? So, you know, I did the little study and there are plenty of spaces. But now you hear, well, the future, we're thinking of the future. So I don't know, you know. The other thing is just a quick permit. Well, I could say it, I don't have to read it, I guess. We all pay for a permit, I understand, I'm not an attorney, but a permit is considered a contract, right? So we got a contract to park on our street, but at the same time, the town is saying, we're gonna have park mobile. Theoretically, even though this might not happen, we have every single space filled with somebody other than residents. So isn't that nullifying the contract that we have? How could you have both? We have a contract that says we would park on the street and yet we're taking all the spaces away from you theoretically. And then the other thing is the prior notice, I don't know, there's something I found in here, the Pennsylvania municipal planning something, but it really strongly encourages that dialogue with people before you pass a major ordinance. And in this case, it's not adding a stop sign or some, I don't even know what, some little thing. This is major, or Needham and Cedar major, based on sort of basically a misunderstanding about how we were zoned. But yet, the borough wants to say we have meetings, but look back at the agenda, that just said parking, and how many people really, people don't look at email, look every single month, and let's see if this meeting at the borough is interesting to me. It just said parking. And then even I was so, how could I say, I was entrenched in it, right, as you know, because I've written so many times in my own word, but I never got an answer. So I did have questions, but I never got an answer, and that should have been the time to say, we live on Cedar, we're going to have a meeting, but that never happened.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Daily 424. I just wanted to say that if you are going to vote out, great table it, but what I hate most of all is the ugly green signs. If you are going to do it, you make it one zone with one sign, and that's it. Instead of signs, they're like dotting all the way down. They just think it's going to look gaudy and ugly and sad, and I don't want that for my street at all. We don't want it at all, but I'm just saying, limit it to one sign and one zone. Zero zone.
For any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm John Kroll, 424 Cedar Street. And, I can't even believe I'm here again. I'm here again on a Wednesday night, arguing about, parking in front of my house. It doesn't make any sense to me. We wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for an email that was sent to my cousin. None of us would have even known about this at all. We found out the day of the first Wednesday night meeting, but because of an email. And if she didn't receive that email, none of us would have known about this whole thing. So it's like, why are you being so sneaky about it and not telling us, or sitting down and having a meeting with us and talking about it, so we can talk back and forth and help us to understand why you need to do this. To me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that I'm even here. So I would ask everyone, to please vote no on this issue, and table it for now. And why don't you invite us to a meeting so we can all get together and talk about it? And maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know. Maybe you could bring that to my attention. I'm not a parking guru or anything, but, help us to understand why this needs to happen. And maybe there is maybe you can't give us a reason, why it needs to happen on our street, in front of our house, where we pay taxes, pay our mortgages, take care of our homes, and you're inviting people to come and take our parking places after we have a contract. I already bought my parking permits, and I can't get a third one. So now my daughter's, driving her car all around and, worried about getting tickets. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir, in the back.
Luke Stohovich, 423 Cedar. I've lived in Jenkintown, I guess, 13 years now. Our street is a mini community. Everyone's very respectful. I didn't even know we had a problem, honestly. Been here now probably 6 hours sitting at these meetings. Three so far, I think.
Yeah.
There's nothing to table. it's just, should be a hard no, and we should go back to living.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just two quick things. Jeff DeVilla, I live at 402 Cedar Street. I want to say I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I know that a lot of you were elected, and it's generally like a thankless kind of situation. But I do want to say that, as everyone here has said, it is extremely hard to park on our street as it is now. We have arrangements, we make it work. It's hard to park on the street. These green signs are a notice to everybody and say, hey, come on down Cedar. There's plenty of parking on Cedar Street. Drive on by. If you don't see a spot, keep moving, but come check it out. That's not going to help our situation. At the moment, I know that the chief said in the first meeting that we have, he has people who complain from time to time. I get that. And yeah, I think most of us are probably in that boat. You know, those complaints, this is going to make it worse. And we're saying that it's worse. So, what I would ask is, again, I don't know the full makeup here. I know a lot of, you know, you are elected and representing us. We're here to tell you what we want. I know there's a lot at stake and we're balancing a lot, but, you know, to put it in perspective, how passionately I feel, a lot of us feel, I've got like big chunks of black stuff in our yard from the fire. I'm here to talk about the parking. And that's crazy. I've got 2 kids and a dog, but I'm here to talk about the parking because that's how much I and my neighbors here. So I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Mayor Jane Riley, I only have one little thing to say about the parking. And that's because I noticed that up on the Facebook questions, it was, well, this has been going on since November and nobody comes to the meetings and why don't they know about it? And, you know, I've had people say to me, well, why didn't I go to the parking meeting? I said, well, right now my street is fine, right? And I think the reason nobody from Cedar Street showed up at the parking meetings is because they didn't have a problem. And you know, I perceived when we first announced those parking meetings in the summer, I perceived that as for streets with problems. That's all, not for places that were fine. Okay, the other thing, I would like the borough to consider releasing meeting videos before a month plus time. You're not changing them or altering them. So it doesn't seem to me to be a reason for them to not be published within a week or so. The other thing is that I noticed for 2024, there were minutes for January, September, November, and December that were not published. So that if you're looking for something, it's in your mind and, you know, you can't remember what month, you have to watch the whole video. If it's, you know, if it's there on access. I punished last January, that's 13 months ago. And finally, I know I'm going to get cut off in the middle, but I'm hoping that council will work with the zoning hearing board to be a little bit more transparent. That 400-year growth fence is just a disaster. And, you know, it's not the fence that was shown in the original April proposal. It's not the fence that was shown in the December request, but it is the fence that was shown in the all of a sudden January hearings. The hearings, which are listed under meetings and agendas as zoning meeting, is always the last Thursday of the month, and it always is there under agendas and meetings. The January meeting was not. It was only listed on the events calendar, and it happened awfully fast. You know, you don't all of a sudden change your date. And I'm very curious as to why, and I wish I had money because I would dig into it. It's not in keeping with the business district. The presentation is just awful. I don't know.
Is there any other public comment?
Hello, my name is Teresa McGettigan. I live on the 400 block of Cedar, I'm relatively new. And I just wanted to read what my neighbors and my new friends on Leadham had to say about, oh, please say no. I understand and I respect that you're trying to help us with a problem, but it is going to cause more problems than solve any one that you think we may have or that we may have. This is going to cause more problems. So please say no to that and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to fact check myself. I earlier said that the JCA was helping us with the Tuesday night market. It is actually the rec board, and they do wonderful things. So I just want to correct that and make sure that credit is given where it is due. I think that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, more. Councilor Becca.
If I can turn this on. I just want to correct a couple of statements that were, or misstatements that were made. I feel it's important to have some accurate information out. And I want to apologize for not organizing a community meeting. I did not have the bandwidth to do that. And so I apologize for that. We'll see if we can get one in the next few weeks. But we are all dealing with quite a lot on our plates. I want to say one thing about Park Mobile, which is that there's no plan to put lines on the street, as far as I know. Manager Locke, am I correct on that?
Sure, correct.
Okay. So our Park Mobile does not, we're not putting lines on the street. We're not putting meters on the street. So Park Mobile, if you've done it in the city of Philadelphia, you just park and you squeeze your cars in. And I think the reason for that is that studies have found that you can park more cars on the street without lines. The parking enforcement is not after 6 p.m. It is between 8 and 6, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. So I just want to make sure that we're all straight on that. So part of the parking enforcement during those daytime hours is to keep cars from parking on these residential streets. So if we have the turnover, then we'll have fewer cars. And it's been interesting to hear that some people think there is a problem, some people think there is not a problem on these residential streets that are adjacent to our business district. For years, I mean, I've been here more than 20 years, we have heard complaints about postal employees parking all over on the street. So part of the rationale for limiting the time period is to avoid that and to push the postal employees out further. There is no confusion at Borough Council or with our borough staff. There is absolutely no confusion how the Cedar, Leadham, Johnson, and Maple are zoned. Actually, I misspoke. Maybe not Maple. But the others are C residential. And so what that means is that there is some commercial activity happening on those streets. This is not a money issue. This is an issue. This is an attempt to help people have parking in the residential streets. It is definitely not a money issue. Yes, we do have to. Excuse me. We do have to have staffing for parking enforcement, which Chief Scott has really improved. And yes, we do have to have the software and to pay for the Park Mobile. But all of this is really to address parking throughout the borough. So there are many parts of the ordinance that do not have to do with the streets in Ward 1. In fact, most of the ordinance has to do with parking outside of Ward 1. So we're trying to address an issue down by the train station. We're trying to address issues on the other side of York Road, etc. I'm just trying to correct some of the misstatements that I heard. And I want to say that part of the problem, no, it's my turn to talk. Part of the problem is that in previous years, before we had this police chief, there were permits that were given out at will, and there was not a system. And so when the chief came in and he realized that he had all these different kinds of permits, he cannot enforce them. We have to amend our ordinance so that things can be enforced. And so that is the main motivation behind this ordinance. Now I hear our constituents asking for more time to think about the plan for the 3 streets that I named. And so I personally will vote to table this because I do agree that we need to think carefully about those 3 streets. We have attempted to do that. We have had many different parking or conversations about parking. They're not meetings that are devoted just to parking. They are meetings, committee meetings, where we talk about what is the issue. We are hearing your complaints, your concerns about the proposed changes. And I have to add one more thing and then I'll stop talking. We do hear what you're saying and we might decide to do it anyway. You might not like what we decide to do, but we hear what you're saying.
And I'd like to, we do have.
I'd like to add, I agree with tabling it only because something was said that really struck me. That, because we had several meetings, several public meetings, inviting the public, having the public here. But I heard something that when someone said, well, I didn't have a problem, so I didn't go. And I think that's a very interesting and very enlightening statement. But in fairness, the chief had several open meetings. We had the parking enforcement staff here. We had, spent hours aside from the committee meetings and the borough council meetings. And I should say, my understanding is folks also sent emails to the chief on your streets about issues. So the only reason I agree I would support the tabling is because the thought was we don't have a problem. And I think that you need to understand that, yeah, you really do. And that the chief has done all that he can. And believe me, there's some things there that you're going to really like that is there to help you. That's my call.
Well, if you had all these meetings, why weren't we told?
Okay, how about the public comment portion is over, so.
Yeah, so but Mr. Lewis, before you say anything, I apologize. So if I can just help keep everybody on track here, we are still in the public comment section. You had accepted folks who have spoken. Some council members, I think, wanted to respond to some of it. What I would suggest, Mr. President, is allow Mr. Lewis an opportunity to also provide statements and comments, but then go back to anybody who has not yet provided public comment, who maybe still wants to provide public comment to do that, because we're getting into a mesh of really deliberating on something which we have not yet gotten to yet on the agenda.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilor Benevolent.
The one thing I wanted to add to what Councilor D, the one thing I wanted to add to what Councilor Tango said is as Chief noted during our last, the streets are public do. We can provide permits, but we can't restrict the public parking on those streets. So what we're trying to do is find a way to regulate so that we have some control. And it can't, as great as it is that one street has organized to the extent and have a way to do that, that's one street. We have to find a way to regulate it throughout the borough. And, I would add that I live on Hoffman Street, which is 2 blocks. One side of the street has no parking whatsoever. The other side of the street has Park Mobile. So it's not like I'm not sympathetic. I understand. So just believe that we are really trying to find a solution that is enforceable and that is something that benefits everybody and impacts nobody in particular in a negative way. And it's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to public comment. Is there anyone that hasn't had an opportunity to speak? That would like to speak. Yes, sir.
Steel Stevens, 48 Stevens. Hearing my neighbors' concerns, which are also my concerns, I'm hearing the board's position of the rationale, because at first we didn't know what the rationale was. But I'm gonna some of the rationale, but not to include us in the decision-making process when it's directly affecting us, I think it's a mistake that has to be considered. And if you have everyone that's being directly affected by this decision, not, happy and directly, concerned about it, I think it at least needs to be tabled and then process and including us in and see what other options could, we could come up. Cause you have some intelligent, insightful people that have been doing a lot of research, but we might be thinking about things that you guys haven't thought about. So the only way you will be able to know is by including us in the process.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? You better be spoken. Manager Locke, is there any public comment by way of email or something?
Have no emails?
Nope, I got you, Ms. Fraser. I do have one email, so why don't you do any public, and I'll provide the email.
The one that was handed in paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't count that as an email.
Oh, okay.
That was a submitted question.
No, fair enough.
Email.
I just didn't want Ms. Fraser to think that we forgot about it, that's all.
Forget.
Well, yes. Well, yeah.
Anything on social media or anything? No, you said no. I'm lost. Mr. President and Council, Ms. Fraser had handed up a copy of an email that was sent by Bianca, I'm going to mispronounce the last name, Biase. She's a resident of Cedar Street. It's a very short email, so I'm just going to quick read it to you if that's all right. Dear Jenkintown Borough Council members, Mayor, Police Chief, and Borough Manager, unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the council meeting this evening. However, I want to reiterate my strong objection of Park Mobile on Cedar Street. I implore you to vote no tonight, and if you won't vote no, I respectfully request that you table this matter to allow enough time for our proper discussion with residents. Like many of my neighbors, I'm highly disappointed that the borough did not engage with all Cedar Street residents to seek our input or provide a clear explanation of this decision. There's been no communication, no community outreach, and no transparency regarding the rationale behind incorporating Park Mobile. Again, I strongly oppose this initiative and urge you to vote no respectfully. I'm going to pass it around so everybody can take a look at it, but that's the only written comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Statement.
It was public comment. I would go back to it's on your agenda. If council wants to deliberate or discuss, that would probably be the best time to do that now. I just wanted you to focus on the public comment part, if that's okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to reports. Yes, Manager Locke.
There isn't statements or questions or statements on Facebook that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Did you want me to read those or?
Yeah, if you could read a few.
We heard questions.
Are there questions or comments?
Comments.
It's kind of both.
No, there's comments.
Question.
Comments. Well, so far, a lot of them are to do with the thing that keeps kicking out. Explaining what's going on. Allie Lester, Council, please consider establishing ongoing discussions with SPS and the regulatory agencies present, and outreach website to keep people apprised of developments. 8 Shields, I want to express my concern to council about documents from SPS. I reviewed the list that SPS provided, and it doesn't include the solvents that they use, which are listed on their permits. Solvents are not necessarily used to create the material, so they're not necessarily being untruthful. However, I'm concerned they are omitting this information. Allie Lester asked who is doing the soil testing in our borough. Angela Ruffino Devers, I'm not sure if these questions are already been answered. So
we will 2 more. Okay, Mr. Locke.
I apologize.
Sorry.
So very much on that here.
Which one I see is maybe what?
No, that was the last one.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to reports, engineers report, Khal, Hassan, from Pennoni.
Thank you, President Connors. A copy of my report is in your packets. Just would like to share with council, for the past several weeks, we have been coordinating with 3 projects, land development projects, one of them being the grocery store. The second one is 501 Washington, and also 826 Homestead. We're coordinating with these projects on getting to the finish line. They seem to be almost ready to close out their projects, but obviously there are procedures and requirements. One of them is final release, and there's also a punch list that we put together following a final site walkthrough. Make sure that all the public improvements have been completed in accordance with the approved plan. And then subsequent to that, there's a required maintenance bond. We will come back at future meetings to update council accordingly. On your agenda, there is a matter for a escrow release request by one of the projects. I can comment on it as needed from council. With that, I answer any questions you may have for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Public Works Department, Foreman Riggins is not with us, but I'm sure Manager Locke will tie that into his manager's report. Solicitor's report, Solicitor Hitchens.
The solicitor's office continues to provide legal services on an as-needed and as-requested basis. Thank you.
Thank you. The mayor's report.
Looking for it. We can vote for somebody else and
No, I think I have it linked through. Yeah, our mayor could not make it tonight, but there was a statement he would, but I wouldn't read. I would like to thank all of the first responders, all of the federal, state, and local agencies, the other municipalities which sent people, trucks, equipment, and expertise. I want the community to know to not only be a leader in the room, but we are doing great work too. Jim and his guys, Jim being our public works committee, Jim and his guys have been at the ready to do anything that's been needed. George and his staff have done a great job in disseminating information so quickly, making sure that the rest of the borough operations continue to function as they should. It's all nothing short of amazing, and it doesn't happen by accident or good luck. It's because of people who care, dedicated to this community. Thank you. Police chief's report, as I mentioned, Chief Scott is in Hershey at a conference, but as we all know, he did give the update on SPS.
You have some stuff.
Did you have something to add, Joe? Oh,
I'm still here.
Chief Scott.
He's still here.
Oh. I'm still with us.
I submitted my monthly report.
Awesome. Yeah, it's all you.
I submitted my monthly report that you should have had in your packet. I just received a notice back from the DEP regarding. Can you hear me?
Chief, you're really breaking up.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I've received notice back from the DEP tonight, confirming that there are no PCBs involved in anything from SPS. The PCBs were removed from the facility interiorly. All the transformers were all air cooled. The outside transformer did not have any PCBs in it. It was converted many years ago. So PCBs are not involved, and they're working on figuring out if soil testing is responsive. He's going to get in touch with me in the morning. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Manager's report, Manager Locke.
Mr. President, I gave a report last Wednesday. We've been working on the incident and the ordinances. I have a note from Foreman Riggins that I'd like to read from Public Works. We've had 4 winter storms over the last month. Of the 4 storms, 1 was a plowable event. Public Works has treated the roads with 168 tons of rock salt, 2,800 gallons of brine. The sidewalks have been treated with 2,450 pounds of sodium fluoride. Public Works has also assisted with the sewer maintenance on York Road. During the video and flushing maintenance, we found issues at Greenwood Avenue between York and Leadham. This area was thoroughly flushed and a video was taken after blockage was cleared. That is the notes that I have from Public Works. And that's what I have, but I can answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Council Pickup.
I would just like to ask Manager Locke, I remember, Foreman Riggins saying something about PennDOT being notified about the trenching on York Road. Can you remind me what is happening there?
Yes, he brought the new person in charge of the municipality from PennDOT. They toured the road and he agreed that it was in bad shape. They were going to try to make them come in and repave before the paving season, which is when it's 45 degrees and rising. But the contractor has been responsive and come out and fixed any potholes we call about fairly quickly, but as you know, that's usually too late when we hear about a big problem, unless we see it ourselves. I know the police have assisted by putting cones out there, and then Jim calls the contractor, Foreman Riggins calls the contractor, and they respond. PennDOT is aware of that, and this new maintenance manager from PennDOT is going to make every effort to make us not go through the winter in the conditions in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll move on. Order of business, number 1, Councilor Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve Act 40. I move that we approve Act 49 of 2024, the purchase of uniform pension service credit. The memorandum of understanding we have with the Jenkintown Police Benevolent Association. This approves the memorandum of understanding with the PBA, amending the collective bargaining agreement that CBA will allow participation in Pennsylvania Act 49 of 2024.
Second.
Sure. I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
I'll just clarify, this is something we've been working through for the past several months. And this allows officers toward the end of their career to purchase service credit to allow them to increase their pension. It's something that the borough contributes to and the officers themselves contribute to.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Manager Locke, please record a unanimous vote. Number 2, also Councilor Ballard.
Again, Act 49 of 2024, the Uniform Pension Service Credit Ordinance. I move that we approve advertisement of the Uniform Pension Ordinance with the revision that would allow the borough to participate in Act 49 of 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Manager Locke, please record a unanimous vote. Number 3, Councilor Solicitor.
Okay. My eyes are tired and I don't have my reading glasses, so. Ordinance 2025-1, Chapter 172, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3 and 4. I'm making a motion to approve adoption of Ordinance 2025-1, amending Article 3 and 4 of Chapter 172, Vehicles and Traffic, making comprehensive revisions to parking regulations and metered parking, parking payment zones, and borough-operated parking lots.
All in favor?
No, second.
Well, if we say we're going to sit back and ask to be tabled?
Yeah, hold on, let me interject here. So there's a motion. We need a second. And I know that there was some discussion about possibly somebody making an intervening motion, which would be to table, which they can do after the motion's been made. So just the second doesn't mean anything passes.
Yep.
It just allows us to proceed forward.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
Yes, I have.
Yes, Councilor Britta.
Yes, I would like to amend this and, I guess not amend it, but I would like to table it. And I would like to table it specifically because I think that there are residents who clearly feel they've not been heard. And I think we owe it to them to have a meeting with Cedar Street and perhaps with Cedar Street. You know, they live here. This is critically important to them. So that's my reason for tabling it.
Thank you, Councilor. Second it. Can I make a comment?
Councilor Lewis.
My only question is, whether we are tabling this indefinitely, or, in other words, are we agreeing that there will be a meeting to allow people the opportunity? Because if not, there could just be meeting after meeting and nothing. We need to come to a decision at some point. It doesn't have to be tonight, is all I'm saying, but that's the clarification I would like.
And that's my point as well.
Well, we're gonna go in order here. Yeah, that would be the process.
Yeah, so Mr. Lewis, I'm glad you asked that, because one of the things I would ask as your solicitor is when somebody makes the motion to table, I want clarity as to when they would like to table it to, because what I would need from you is at the date that it is tabled to, I will need you to motion again to advertise this. As you know, as an ordinance, we have a legal obligation to put this in a newspaper, which we have done for tonight. We have to advertise it one time. We've met that requirement. We've done what you've asked. If you motion to table, as a staff, we don't know what you want us to do. So I would have you list it again for an agenda item to motion to advertise. So I would just want that clarity. Sorry, Mr. President.
No, thank you. I appreciate the explanation. Councilor Mitchell.
I think my question goes away. I was going to ask if we could modify, but we still have to advertise
No.
again if we modify.
No.
That's what I wanted to comment on. I was gonna have permission from
Yeah.
Jay to speak.
So if I can answer that in anticipation. So the Borough Code does allow you to modify an ordinance that is before you vote. Meaning if somebody would like to amend the ordinance that's before you, you can certainly do that. Council then can vote on it. The Borough Code would then require that within 10 days of tonight's meeting, we would have to advertise a legal ad explaining what it is that you did, which is you adopted this ordinance and that ordinance included an amendment. And we would have to, and if we do that, we've met the requirements. So you theoretically could also just amend the ordinance tonight and then adopt it the same night as well.
Shay, did you have anything else, Manager?
Yeah, I did want to add that, I took the liberty of having the solicitor draw up an ordinance change like that in case council decided to do that, because I know it's important to get the rest of the ordinance in place. And if you wanted to revise on these two streets, Patrick has, the solicitor has drawn up the ad and notification to amend what we've already advertised. So we are prepared to do that.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So the manager had advised me that there may be some desire by certain council members to possibly amend the ordinance with regard to the parking payment, the street sides that would be subject to the parking payment, essentially trying to better mirror what is currently in the ordinance in this new proposed ordinance as it relates to Cedar Street. Additionally, I had discussed with the manager that there is language in the current ordinance, which oddly enough goes to the contract issue that was raised, that was not in or omitted in this draft. Specifically, your current ordinance states that any parking permits that are issued is not a guarantee of any parking where it's located. That language actually does not exist in this draft. It was dropped or omitted for reasons I don't know, but I discovered it. And when we were talking about other revisions, so if council were to move forward tonight, I would recommend to you as your solicitor that you reinsert that language so that it mirrors what's currently there, because it goes directly to the point of what you would raise, Mr. Lewis, which is there's never a guarantee that even when you get a parking permit, that you are entitled to, or you are going to have a parking space, whether it's in front of your house or anywhere on the street.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Councilor Bruno.
Since I was the one that, am I supposed to be the one that sets the timeline, since I was the one that brought up the idea of tabling it?
So whoever makes the motion is who I would ask to
Okay, so
do
read
that.
the motion to table it. And what I would request is that we table it until next month's meeting, and that within that month, whoever, certainly the ward leaders and any other council members have one meeting with the residents. And I believe as Councilor Danko said earlier, we may end up with the same decision, but at least we will hopefully give you a voice and a time where you could express everything you've already expressed, but in a meeting that is just yours. I personally think we owe that to them. The parking issue has been forever. We could let it go for one more month.
I just want to make one comment? I just want to acknowledge that we had these meetings. I sat there and to hear over and over again that I did think, and you're shaking your head at me, to be acting like I am underhanded and I was doing things in secrecy it feels like I can't hear people say thank you for your time. When I volunteer my time, I show up at these meetings to talk about the parking. There are parking workshops for give and take. People didn't show up. This is my statement. So my great concern is we table this again. We pause it again. We have a meeting and no one shows up. And then we go to vote on it and people say, well, I didn't go to the meeting. I didn't know about it. It didn't impact me. It had nothing to do with me. What guarantee do we have that we're going to have a workshop like that? And then it goes back.
So what I want to say, I do hope to. Public comment is over. One comment is over. Public comment is over. One of the things I share my colleagues' concerns. We can table this and we can have a meeting. Things might stay the same, maybe they'll change, but what I'm hearing from the residents is you don't change. You don't want any kind of change. So how can we table something, have a meeting when nobody wants change?
What I would think of.
We're just kicking the can down the road.
No, and I hear both of you, and because my sentiments are what everyone here has said, but what I'd like to sit down with everyone is to sit back and to listen to the entire ordinance, to hear the pluses and the minuses, and I think the pluses outweigh any minuses. And I respect that what was said, that I didn't think I had a problem, that's why I didn't show up. And I respect that point, and only for that point. But the chief, Councilor Solicitor, all the council, we were here for the public meetings. We called a public meeting. It was made public. But we are willing, because we're a community that frankly has just gone through a big trauma, that I feel that, okay, we'll meet one more time to sit back and to talk into detail, lay it all out. And thank
So yes, it's can I go to Councilor McCaffrey, then I'll come.
I just want to give another side that, there's a difference of being talked at and talked with. I don't think another meeting is going to hurt. I think it would be better way where we can talk with rather than at. Yes, it was different else. And it is complicated. So it is hard to follow different streets, different traffic, but we did go through it, and there's no harm in doing it again.
Thank you. Councilor Ballard.
If I can follow up on something that, yeah, it's just a small bit of the ordinance that, is under dispute and to the table. And I'm hoping we can, Chief Scott said that we need to move on these things and get them in place so that the even as a teenage student for enforcement. So can we just kind of draw a black line through, certain parts of Senior Street and certain parts in Lerman, parts of Main Street, and move and pass the rest of the ordinance?
So, the short answer to your question is he's asking whether or not they could amend in order to eliminate some of the concerns that are raised by the residents on Cedar Street, presumably with regard to the park mobile signage and paid parking sections. And my answer to that would be is yes. As I mentioned before, you were certainly free to amend the draft as you see fit. I think the difficulty, just so council would be aware, is as I've heard the residents, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, nor am I speaking on behalf of any policy, their concerns are twofold. It sounds like they do not want any paid parking on their street, and they want their street to remain permit parking only, but I also permits that are being issued. That on this, it would be very difficult to craft an exception that on this street there is an unlimited number of permits to be issued, as opposed to the ordinance as proposed makes it very clear you're entitled to 2 resident parking permits and 1 guest parking permit, depending on the availability. So the only thing I would warn you is that I think you could probably address the paid parking portion, but I don't know you could necessarily address the other portion, which is the permit parking side.
Could we move forward with the permit limitations and perhaps it'll come up later and we'll have to again. But eliminate the park mobile aspect of the relevant parts of Cedar and the relevant parts of Leadham, and otherwise move the ordinance forward.
Yes.
I'd like to check with Manager Locke, because Manager Locke, does that capture what you and Solicitor Hitchens talked about?
Yes.
Was there anything else was involved?
No, just the 3-hour park mobile and leaving this what we had discussed was leaving the same thing now. Leaving that the same. It's one option that we had discussed. And then the fact that we did not include in the ordinance the verbiage that said you are not guaranteed a parking spot with a parking permit. It was in our old ordinance. It's not in the new. So that included that as well.
Okay. So there are several motions.
Yeah, so procedurally, Mr. President, there's been a motion to table, so I think you have to ask whether or not there's any seconds to the motion to table.
Second.
And if there's a second to the motion to table, which there has been, then you would take a vote, and a majority vote would decide whether or not it would be tabled in accordance with what Councilor Bruno had.
Don't we need first say how long it's being tabled for? Doesn't have to be sure.
No, she stated.
So, but on what date?
It would be
this meet. So we're going to have not a separate. I thought you said that there had to be a separate parking desk like we had back in November.
No, let me.
I'm tabling the vote to our next council meeting, which is in a month from now.
So we'll have a parking workshop as a part of the
subcommittee
meeting.
We'll have a separate.
Okay.
That's not in the motion. That's a.
No. So as I understand the motion, correct, until the next meeting. During that month period, it is anticipated that some folks on council will have a meeting with residents about it. This may not be a formal meeting of the quorum of council. It may just be certain council members who will meet with the residents, and then they will come back. And again, at that meeting, that's what I will ask you to motion to advertise, to direct us to advertise this ordinance again. So you would be you'd be looking at an adoption date March, you'd be looking at adoption date of April.
But we could, I'm sorry, we could, if we have a quorum council, we could vote to advertise at our committee meeting.
Correct.
Still wouldn't give enough time though for the next week.
It wouldn't though, no, I would suggest you stick with the month timeline to keep that consistent. We could theoretically advertise for your workshop meeting in April if you wanted to, rather than your business meeting in April, but that would be up for you to decide in March, not tonight. You do not need to decide that tonight.
So
Now we're talking about
just protest on that.
Public comment is over.
Like with this gentleman, can we just, change it so we get Cedars?
Councilor Ballard.
So when we do that, we table that takes the entire ordinance.
Correct. You would have adopted nothing tonight. All you would have done is to table the entire ordinance to March.
So we have to say no to the tabling if we wanted to amend.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes, Councilor Panko.
So what David was suggesting is that we, on page 4 of the proposed ordinance, and I will admit that I have a January 28th version, so it might not be the most latest. But on page 4, we would change the part that describes where parking permit only zones and then the 3-hour parking. We would eliminate the 400 block of Cedar Street from that chart. And the 400 block of Ham Street from that chart. Yes. And then we could proceed with the, David, is that what you're, and we would add the language that Manager Locke and our solicitor have suggested, that this does not guarantee parking for any permit holder.
Just getting rid of parking.
But Justin, we're negotiating, saying all the other.
On the other parts, yeah.
Always so.
Just the 400 block of Cedar and the 400 block of Freedom.
That would be very legal to do, to just do it, I guess. I mean, that seems wild.
I'm waiting for our solicitor. I'm hoping I don't have the answer.
I know, that seems crazy, but okay.
So what, again, we have a motion to table and there's a second, so you need to take that vote first. But in response to, in response to your question, Ms. Panko, yes, you could amend the ordinance in order to, I have it up on my screen, eliminate the Cedar Street reference between West Avenue to Hillside Avenue, both sides for 3-hour parking.
Wait a minute, where are you? Between, I think it says between 400 Cedar and Hillside. Is that?
Oh, are you under the 10-hour parking? I thought you said 3-hour parking.
It's 172-25.
So you don't want to do that because that is the permit parking area. You would want to look to the payment zone, parking payment zones, which is section 172-34.
So you're really not gonna.
The hour is late.
Yes.
So why don't I address the motion to table? So we have a motion to table and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Death threats. Chief Scott said that, a lot of the stuff needs to be done. We're holding up the whole shebang, most of which is fine.
That's right. Well, as I mentioned, the hour was late and it's, no, I don't mean it like that, like I want to go home. I mean, we're still talking about a lot of things and there seems to be a lot of confusion. So I'm going with Councilor Bruno's suggestion that we table and then we have that there's a meeting between the residents and members of the council. I can't say all members of the council, just to make sure we're voting, we're all can find common ground. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to go home.
Yeah, I think if we amend the same.
I agree with David.
So, Mr. President, I would say you did just vote and there was, as I heard, a majority to table because I believe it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can I cancel that?
You can't, because you already voted 6, 7, 8.
Can I ask a question about timing?
Yeah.
Okay, if there were a quorum, of counselors that met with the group within a week, could we then,
So
could we like vote to change?
So if a quorum of council meets with the residents, please be,
Wait, let me just, what I'm trying to get at, is there any way that we could do this process so that we can vote on the entire ordinance next month?
so if you wanted it advertised for March, you would likely need to call a special meeting between now and probably 2 weeks before your regular business meeting. So as to ensure that the legal advertisement can go in 7 days prior to your regular business meeting. And the reason you have to give us that much lead time is that the newspaper requires us to submit it so far in advance in order to make it to a certain date.
Because my intent is to vote, to be able to just have this conversation, but be able to vote in the March meeting. That's the intent.
Okay.
Of my tabling it. So.
But we would be voting to advertise unless we make no change at all.
No, presumably at that special meeting is when you would direct me what it is you want advertised.
And I think if we spend 20 more minutes, we can hammer out the understanding that
You just take
no.
So
Because we're trying to hammer it out.
No. So, can we back down to that table?
It's not time to hammer it out. We should still have more on the agenda.
Yes.
So what I'm going to suggest is, if the president would like to direct staff to schedule a special meeting, I believe that under the Borough Code, the president has the right to direct special meeting to be scheduled. We can schedule that special meeting and you guys can meet at that special meeting, and at that meeting, at the agenda, we can list an agenda and that can allow you an action item to make a direction as to what it is you'd like us to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense as far as advertising.
As far as advertising, and you do not need to vote on that because the president can direct or call that special meeting be held. You just have to tell us to do that.
It'd have to be the second week of March, right, Patrick, to get the ad in.
Yeah, we would advise you, I don't know sitting right now, like when the exact, but we would advise you when you need to hold that meeting.
Okay. So that will be my direction.
Okay. Staff will work to schedule a special meeting, which will be advertised in agenda published. It will probably be here in this Borough Hall as it always is. The advertisement is in the same newspaper that it always goes in. So, Mr. Locke, what newspaper does it go in?
I can't think.
The Intelligencer?
Intelligencer, yeah, thank you.
The Intelligencer.
Councilor Lewis, you had something?
Yes, the one request I would make to people who plan to attend the meeting is that to make the best use of everyone's time, it would be a good idea to come with solutions, possible solutions, because simply complaining is not productive. We know that there's limited parking here. We know that there are parking issues. So let's all try to work together to come up with solutions. Now, not every solution is going to work, but I think if we're trying to solve problems instead of identifying them, we'll get a lot further and a lot faster.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so why was it shifted there? We don't know. Why did you want to make Cedar?
So
envy or whatever.
if I can interject there and suggest that's a good question to ask at the special meeting or whatever the thing is, but
my question is, if we know why you want to do that, then we might be able to bring solutions.
I think it's clear we've heard you. I think it's clear and all, I mean, I think it's, we would like to have a meeting where, as my Sam McCaffrey said, where we're not talking at each other, we're talking to each other. So I think that's what everybody be in agreement that that's
My question was, what are we trying to solve?
Oh, yeah, and we'll talk about that. I mean, I think I was pretty lenient by allowing more public comment, but it's.
Thank you.
Thanks. Number 4, Councilor Ballard.
Thank you. Riggins Commons Limited Partnership number 3, that is Giant Storm. I move that we approve the letter of credit release in the amount committed by the Borough Engineer, that is $578,587.41. As the store nears completion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. So those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Manager Locke, please record unanimous vote. I move, any new business to be brought forward? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
So I'm going